forgot that I needed my headphones plugging in then. Greetings, I hope you are all well and having a week full of peace, love and joy. I'm just going to bring my guest in. If you'll let me. For some reason, you're not coming up. Would you like to request to join? Because it's not coming up with the option to invite you. Now there we go. Good evening, good afternoon.
Hello, Trinity.
Hi, are you okay?
Doing great. I'm sorry about you breaking your arm.
No, burnt my arm.
Oh, I see.
Burnt.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
horrible.
I work in a kitchen, it were red hot gravy. It wasn't nice, but it's feeling better now.
Good, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you so much. How are you? How's your day been so far?
You know, just doing my thing around here. I'm retired, so I can take it easy.
Oh, that's absolutely brilliant. What did, if you don't mind me asking, what did you do for a living before you retired?
I've done a lot of things in my life, uh, caring for people, all kinds of different things in my life. My last job that I had, I worked in a kitchen. I cooked for 200 people, and I did the entire job for 12 hours by myself. And when I left from there, they hired two more people, so now it takes three. So there you go.
That's similar to me. I'm a three people equivalent, you know, and it's rubbish that we only get one wage. Like,
Yes, it made a good living for myself. Good.
well, over here, unless you're like a big chef, like I don't enjoy the kitchen as much as I do the event management.
Yes. Now,
But I did kitchen for a long time.
I actually liked it a lot, but the kind of food that we served was just your old country food, just for the elderly people, the retirement
Yeah.
home, and so it was wonderful.
Oh, I bet that was fulfilling. So, before we get deep into the questions, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience and just tell them a bit about yourself and how you came to this place in your life?
My name is Shirley. I live in Texas, far west Texas. Um, was born and raised here, lived here all my life. Um, when I was born, I have three sisters, so there's four little girls, and our mother became very ill when I was 5 years old. So my daddy raised us. Uh, he gave us a good life in the country. He was a cotton ginner, and we ran barefoot and played, and he took good care of us. But that being said, as I began to get older, it became harder because we didn't get any care. We were just all on our own. So we were all four of us in survival mode our whole life. So that's why I picked this topic. Survival goes into our everyday living. So if you're a young child and you are surviving, um, it's not going to go away. You're going to always have that. So always in my life, when I would go get food, I would say to myself, okay, I'm going to put this away for emergency. So I've always done that.
Yeah.
Um, if we need medication, let's get an extra one because I need to put this away for emergency. So that's just always been my mindset. And that being said, that has prepared me for a lot of things in my life because I have not had an easy life. So having that mindset has caused me to keep my armor on. And I'm going to give some little tips today to so that you can have your armor on.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you so much.
So
It's so much appreciated. I mean, I have started a new job a few days a week, which is what I got burnt in today. So hopefully that's going to help along. I've had two teeth ripped out, so hopefully I can get a few of these ones sorted out. I mean, I basically just need the whole lot ripping out and give me some pop-ins because
yes,
they're just. But thank you so much. It's so much appreciated.
I love it.
Oh, I love you too. Thank you so much. So, may I ask, did you say you were the eldest?
I was.
Sib-
Yes.
I'm
Handsome.
I'm the eldest sibling as well, so I can imagine it was slightly more responsibility on
Well,
you than it was your other siblings.
okay, so you're the oldest and I'm the oldest. So what I did was just in my nature, and it was also in your nature. I was constantly keeping an eye on my little sisters and making sure they were good. And so, since we didn't have any supervision at all, and we were just wild, I would I was always worried about them, running after them, and trying to get them to do what I would tell them to do. So in our adult lives, that has caused friction between us. And it's just now in our lives that we have began to see that we all had some trauma, and now we're starting to love each other more. So,
Sort of evolving together.
and that's just now happening. So, I think a
Oh,
lot of things in our world right now are happening new to people. We're all in a time of awakening for a lot of things in our lives. And I see so many people waking up on all these levels and how God did it for me. And, everybody's different. Every 2 to 3 months, it's like I'm pulled to a new journey of learning. And so when that comes on me, I'm just like, bam, on the internet, ordering books, and I just get all into it and I'm really excited. But the excitement sort of stops right there unless I'm on TikTok because we are around like-minded people. So that helps me a lot because around me, I cannot share all these wonderful things because they don't want to hear it. If a person's not awake and they're living in a bubble, they're not going to listen. They don't care. So it's very exciting to me to have like-minded people around me.
so as no one at all around you come round to the idea. So, for example, my mom started getting into it all about 3 years ago, and then like other people I know, they start getting into it, and I can sort of recognise a pattern of what people go through when it happens to them. Do you know what I mean? Like, first there's the grief, and
Okay.
everyone's like, what do you mean grief? And I'm like, no, people have got to grieve the fact that everything they were taught were a lie.
A-
Like,
Anger will come into that also.
yeah.
So and so I live with my aunt, and that's I came here to retire with her, and she's 74, and she's in a bubble, and she don't want me to tell her anything because she says I don't want to think about it. I do want to think about it. I want to know everything. so thankful that God brings all these things about for me to learn. It's so exciting to me. Um, and I want other people to have that excitement also. I have one sister that is awake. She's waking up more and more all the time. So that's good for me because we can talk about some things. But early on, I found out just be quiet, just sort of mention some things and let it go because they're going to find out. But Trini, let me tell you what woke me up. It was 12 years ago when my granddaughter was born. I had not seen a baby born in many years. And so I was there for her birth. And when she was born, they took her to the little crib, and there was a nurse on each side giving shots to her in her leg. And I was so shocked. And I said, what are all those shots? How many? Look how many there is. And I just sort of lost it right there. It was not something I knew that was happening in the world. I didn't know anything about a baby getting all these shots when they hadn't even took their first breath. It was so I was so loud about it and so upset they kicked me out. This
And how many years ago was that?
It was 12 years ago. So so that being said, I was so in shock. I was in my car. I could barely drive home. Not to mention how I was treated. So I began to get on the computer and do research. And that is when my whole world woke up to what was really going on in the world. Because when I would be researching vaccines, then, I would go to another place and another place and another place. And I just began to wake up. And I walked around in shock for a few years. As a matter of fact, I was so researching so deep and heavy that I began to not be well. So I had to learn to leave that alone and find myself. I was just so deeply involved in all these things that were going on in the world that I didn't know. We've been lied to. We have literally been lied to about everything. So my thing is, if you want to get the truth, you got to turn it around the other way, and that's what you have
Yeah.
to do. And
So when you started looking into the vaccines, were it sort of like as you were looking into that one part, that topic, you kept falling upon other topics and then another topic and then before you know it, it's just all connected and
yes,
yeah.
and I read an article that said was the big thing for me. Also, was at that time I had read an article, um, follow the bloodlines. And I said, okay, I've got plenty of time. Let me go to the library and get on this computer. And I began to pull up famous names and follow the bloodlines. And I was in shock. It opened up the wars. It opened up all these, everyone that's in our government and that's high up, and they're all related. It's one big world out there for them. They're in a completely different place than we are, and they rule over us. How shocking is that? I just didn't know. So I was making all these connections, and it was pretty much.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the worst thing back then is, and I say to people all the time, so for me, I was always aware of the weird system. So I was that weird, annoying kid that just pointed everything out and bang on about it in religious studies, history. Like most of the teachers hated me, except for one of my science teachers.
Yeah.
And as the time's gone on, I've noticed how people are becoming, I don't like to use the word woke because you never stop waking up. You never stop gaining awareness. Do you know what I mean? It's just a roller
Yes.
coaster. It's like a spiral. Once it takes hold, you just become aware of more and more things. Do you know what I mean? So I've noticed that it's happening more at an accelerated rate. So 10 years ago, there was no one that wanted to talk about it. And then
Right,
5 years ago, it was conspiracy theory. And
right.
now it's popular topic. So it's brilliant to have someone to talk about it, you know, just compare notes and studies and see other people's perspectives on the information collected.
Yes, yes.
So have you, I know that you said the survival and self-sufficiency is about, you know, because you want to show that it should be incorporated and is incorporated in everyday life. Have you ever
Yes.
foraged or grown your own food?
Trinity, I have not had the opportunity to forage, but wouldn't it be a beautiful thing to go find mushrooms and to know your flowers and plants and roots and pull all that and take it home? It would
Mm-hmm.
be a thing to do, and maybe someday I can. I have grown a garden, and I grew my first one this year in my new place that I'm living, and I had a abundance of squash, like 3 and 4 a day, but everything else was just a little bit in my hand, and I only had 4 cantaloupes, but I was so blessed and thankful for everything that I did have. So now that that ground has been planted, next year will be better because the nutrients are all there. So next year I'll have to make a video on my garden. It'll just be so lovely.
Have you tried the milper planting system?
Oh, yeah, I need to.
I'm going to experiment with it this year. I'm going to rent out because I don't have a proper garden, so I got to grow in grow bags. So I'm going to experiment. I'm going to get an allotment, and I'm going to, you know, do me
That's going to
experiments.
be it'll be wonderful, and it's such a blessing. And you'll just and your frequency and your happiness and joy, the plants will know, and it will help them grow. It's a fact. Yeah. Um, Yes, it is a wonderful thing to have your own fresh food. And I know that you're doing this, and I'm also doing this. I always have. My daddy was a big gardener. I grew up on all fresh food. And he would put the food in the freezer. He did not can it, but he would put it in the freezer. We had always fresh food. He was not a big meat eater, so see, I started out like that. Um, but we're keeping our seeds, you and I. And working very hard to keep a lot of seeds because I am seeing that our seeds have been tampered with. And we need to work really hard and concentrate and do the best we can on getting those seeds to keep them, the ones that are good. We have to
Definitely.
make sure that we have clean food because right now it's so important. And I wanted to talk about, let's see, we're going to talk about the food. You know, Um, I do not have a freezer at the moment, but it's just two people here. I'm not raising a family, but I always had a freezer, and I had a big one. And if there wasn't a good place to put it, I put it in my bedroom. I had to have a freezer. I was feeding children and a family. And so, you might want to think about that. But food, every time that you go to buy food, even if you have $10, you pick something up that you can put back for emergencies. It's very important. And try and get some sardines and some salmon in a can. It's so, um, I have a lot of dry beans and a lot of rice, but you have to think that's going to take water. So you have to really use your mind and think, okay, I have everything for bread, to make biscuits. I have yeast. I have all this flour put back because bread is a good, we have to have our bread. A good thing to learn to do is to make tortillas. I'm in Texas, and we have taken the Mexican culture as our own. They're such wonderful people. They are family oriented. They know how to make a pot of food and put it on the tortilla, and it feeds everybody, like 30, 40 people. So this is a good thing. Tortillas take such little effort, and it's good. So to learn to do that, you might want to pull that up and learn to do that. So I want to talk about water. I'm really excited about talking about water today. So food, water, air, and fire. Those are the elements that we need to know how to manage in our lives in case of emergency. I've had to live a lot in survival, and I know how to do a lot of little things like this. And I'm so happy I do. So I want to talk about water. Um, I was watching a documentary with my children many years ago, and it was about Mexican food. And that's what it was about. It was about their food and how they gather it and how they cook it. But the one thing they barely mentioned, they were showing the women, you probably saw on movies, they would have these little clay pitchers pouring the water. Okay, so I did a research on that, and it's just amazing. In Texas, you see those everywhere, and they're not expensive at all. So when you take the terracotta pots, the clay pots, the real ones, they has to be real.
Mm-hmm.
You put your water in there, and you wait 2 days. That water is naturally cleaned. The bacteria from from that water, and it cleans the water. So that's what the Aztec Indians has passed on to the Mexican people and to America. I mean, and I see those everywhere. And really, at that time, did not know that those clay pots were so vital in our to sustain us. Um, I just thought they were decorations, you know. But you can those up, and you'll be interested in knowing how many different ones you can find, and they're not that expensive, and we should all have those. At the grocery store here, they sell the pitchers,
Mm-hmm.
and they're $5. And then the glasses that they have, they look like a little flower pot, but it's a glass. And you put that water in there and just set it in the moon. Set it outside for a little while. And then when you drink it, it's just pure, and it's spiritual, and it's just wonderful. And so that's a good thing to know. Here here in West Texas, we have clay and dirt mixed together. When I was a little girl, where I was living, we had a lot of clay. And so when it would rain, we would slide on it. It was real slippery. And then when it dries, it's real crusty, and it's orange. So that's pure clay. And it's a beautiful thing. I wish that I could go back there and get some of that and make my own pot. And then another thing about water that I want to tell you today, this is so interesting. I met a man on YouTube. He has a YouTube, and he it's called Ascension Tools, and he makes he puts the stones and the wire and all the things together to make some energy, good energy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about shungite. And 3 years ago, when I learned about shungite, I was really surprised and tried to order me some. And I did order it, but it ended up not being real. So
Mm.
what we need is we need to find the real shungite. And so it comes from Shanghai, Russia. And that's the one that we want. That's the one that we want if we can get it. And so what you do is you put that in the water, and it purifies it. The shungite is spiritual, and it helps your body. And I'm going to read right here what it does. You can also put it on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer. It takes the bad energy away. On the outside of the body, if you put the shungite in your bathtub or in a shower head that you can put minerals in, you can buy those on Amazon. So if you put the shungite there and you put that water on your skin, what it does is it removes all bad chemicals. Um, it's minerals. It helps your skin. It removes copper, mercury, lead, uh, pesticides, fluoride, and it adds all these wonderful minerals. Like I said, I mean, why wouldn't we want that? And this is not something that I've ever heard that we knew anything about. And here's the big thing that it does. This is amazing to me. It totally removes strep. It totally removes E. coli. So if you take a pitcher of water or a big jug and you put that in there, it's going to sanitize your water and it's going to help you inside and out. And so I want some of that. I want to put it in my bathtub at least. This is good news for us and not something that we're going to hear anywhere else. So we really need to try to get that shungite. It's in Russia, and I want some.
The best way to search for it is by searching elite shungite.
Yes,
So every person, the first ever visit, they come to my house, they always leave with a couple of pieces of shungite, and I keep it in my water filter. So even though it's got a carbon water filter on it, I also have the crystals in.
yes.
So, just another thing that
What a beautiful gift to give someone that comes to visit. What a beautiful gift.
people always go away with a gift in my house. It might be a roll on of essential oils, it might be a book. They always leave with something. I can't help myself.
Yes, that's beautiful. When I go visit, I always take gifts. So the
Definitely.
shungite, thing that I found out about 3 years ago, and that's very exciting to me. Um, that's just knowledge is just so powerful. And the only way that we are going to get this kind of knowledge is to share it, and then we can study about it and learn for ourselves. And then I wanted to talk about air. So, and also there's other things that you can do to clean your water. Like the chlorine, iodine, that kind of thing. There's all kinds of things on Amazon, to help us with that. But these are the things that we can do that's closer to being spiritual.
Hmm.
What I mean, it's closer to being spiritual and not using, that tablet or, something like that. So,
Definitely.
so also air. So I love a ozone generator, and they're a little costly. I do not have one. I'd like to have one, but an ozone generator, it tells you how many feet that it cleans the air. It cleans it so pure that you have to shut that door, leave it on for so many hours, and then it has to be aired out before you can stay in the room. That's how powerful it is. Um, an ozone generator is cleans the air to purity, and it would be a wonderful thing to have one, and I may try and do that.
Is it
Also,
something you can order or is it something you've got to buy? Or make, I mean?
yes, the ozone generators are on Amazon,
Oh, they're only about 70 quid over here.
and this is a wonderful thing. It really cleans the air. You can go on and read about it.
Thank you for that.
Also, I find it to be of great help when I shut my bedroom door and put my humidifier on.
Mm.
Put inside my humidifier is food grade peroxide. I did not put the ratio, but if you wanted to, anybody that wants it, but if the peroxide in there, and it's food grade only, put the peroxide in there, and you breathe that at night. What it does is it goes into your blood cells. It's oxygen into your blood cells, and it will help your lungs and it will help you stay well. So that's another thing about air that I think is very important is to have that humidifier with the peroxide in it.
So, how would someone like over here do something like that? So, for example, we can't really humidify our rooms over here. We need to dehumidify them. Otherwise, we would get right damp. Do you know what I mean? Because it's
Yes, it does.
quite cold and wet over here all the time.
Okay, so you're going to need one that's warm,
Right.
and you'll just concentrate on doing it once or twice a week to shut yourself up in your room and breathe that. And it doesn't have to go on all night. You can get a handheld little small one. It runs on batteries, and just hold that to your face and breathe it. And this is going to help your blood cells retain oxygen, so your lungs and your body and your blood stays well. So there's all kinds of ways of getting that.
So,
Yes,
like a nebulizer version.
you can do that. Yes, absolutely.
Right. I'll have a
So
look
that's
into it.
what we want to do is we want to make sure that our homes are aired out properly the best we can. The best. Okay, so then we're going to go to fire, and we want to stay warm. You know, I like to go to garage sales and flea markets, and I'm always tromping around looking for something I might need because I'm a survivor, and so that's just what I do. Uh, it's a good idea to have some coveralls, wool blankets, anything that can sustain you to be warm in case of emergency. And yes, and then also you can think about getting the large propane tanks, which are very, very expensive. But if you think about it, you could like maybe try to get two of them, and the little heater that you turn that fits on top. Also, in the early days in this world, they would take the great big river stones and heat them, wrap those up, and put them in your bed. And that's so you might want to have those stones around in case you need to do that. But we want to make sure that we're warm.
Well, you mentioned terracotta pots earlier. Do you know the terracotta cotton candle trick?
Oh,
So you can get two bricks and a candle and then a terracotta pot and put the terracotta pot on top of stones and the candle underneath. It heats the terracotta pot and it's a, cheap easy
little
heater.
heater. You know, anything bad happens, and let's just say that we're all in one big room, we can stay warm and we can get through it. So, the little tea candles, they last 6 hours to burn, and you can put those in a crock pot. Uh, it's heavy, and set that in the middle of the room with those little 6 hour candles in there, and it will throw out some heat. Also, I wanted to say that you could get, also, I do know about this. You can get Crisco. A long time ago when they first made Crisco, it was actually to burn in your lanterns. That's why the little flame is on there. Okay, so if you take a can of Crisco and you put a tapered candle in the middle, and you light that candle, and it's going to start burning down. It's going to last 72 hours. That small flame will heat up a room, and it's going to last 72 hours. So, and then the little tea candles, they last 6 hours. There's ways to survive. You just have to really think about it. You just have to kind of just think about it and try and pick up these things a little bit at a time, just, a little bit at a time, so that you will be able to make it through hard times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And for the people watching, I recommend YouTubing how to make homemade burn bricks that'll last
that's,
about 8 hours a time, and you're just using all the old paper and cardboard and stuff around your house and
that's right.
water.
It's very, very important. And have a place, if you can, in your yard somewhere where you can, have a fire to
Yeah,
cook on. Just always be prepared and just think. This is what happens. I was homeless for a while and was actually outside living. And so that was an experience and I had to learn a lot. I did learn a lot. But whenever you go through survival, how God made us is that our senses will be heightened. You will hear, see and know things that you never dreamed of. And that is that's so that because we are survivors. So just know that if anything does happen, you're going to be able to know what to do. It's going to come to you. It's going to come to you.
Definitely. So, have you got any advice for people that are just starting their journey of self-sufficiency? I mean, you've pretty much given us quite a lot of examples, but like, is there anything so the easy, cheap stuff? Like, so say for example, a grab bag for an emergency. What would you put in your grab bag?
I have a bag that stays in my car, and what I have in there is fire, to make fire. Um, I do have a small weapon,
Hmm.
a flashlight. I have an extra clothes, depending on what season it is. I change that out. Um, we need to keep a bag in our car or in our closet just in case. 10 years ago, I was all about survival kits and, building this huge bag and doing all these things. I've kind of went out of that and I'm more or less just going for the day.
Hmm.
If something happens, I'm going to know what to do and I have enough here to survive. I'm not going to make a real big deal out of it and have this huge big bag with all this stuff in it because if I have to walk or run, I'm not going to be able to carry it.
Hmm.
Hey, one good thing to keep in mind is if anything bad happens, where will you go? If you have to go somewhere, where will you go to be safe? Make sure that you have that in your mind where you're going to go. Let your children and family know where you're going to go in case we can't contact each other
Hmm.
because we might have to find each other. Just things that you can put in your mind. Just you have to just think about it a little bit and just go for it. And just always look for items that make for survival, like wool blankets,
Hmm.
kind of thing.
Definitely.
And
I have a lot of foil blankets in my bag because they're lightweight, they don't take up a lot of room in your bag, and you can have quite a few. Do you know what I mean? So,
there is the Fairway, if I'm saying it right, fabric. That's a big deal right now. That you can make clothes out of. You can buy the clothes already made or hats from all these horrible frequencies or whatever that's they say is going to come. But I'm not even going to go that far anymore. I used to would have done that, but I'm just going to go on. Whatever happens, I'm going to survive. I'm a survivor. Uh,
do you know?
strong,
Do you
strong-minded
know?
people, strong-minded people, you cannot put us down easy.
Did you know there's a reason that wool is said to be a good material to wear? Is because apparently it
The frequency,
stops the interaction of frequencies. Yeah. So.
and that's in the Bible. Yes, about the wool and the linen. And I have been on a journey trying to get more linen clothing. I've been saving my money to get my linen bedding because it's going to heal our bodies. The
Hmm.
linen heals our bodies. In the 1800s, people had linen um, sheets and blankets for the sick. And whenever somebody in the family was ill, they would put all that on the bed. And when they became well, they washed it in a certain kind of way, hung it outside, and then put it away as they needed. They slept in linen clothing. It's such a big, huge thing in our lives that we need to know these things. That's good frequency that's going to heal our bodies. Yes, absolutely. It is
Definitely.
linen clothing is very expensive. I have a few pieces and I'm saving to get my bedding because I want it to be just perfect. It's gonna, yeah. I want the whole thing. So
Well, thank you for the little tips. Do you have any hacks? So, like particular survival hacks. So, for example, I know how to make a compass using a leaf, a sewing needle, and water by
yeah,
magnetizing one side and just placing it in the leaf with water. Do
it's
you?
kind of because I know that if I whatever I need, it's gonna come to me. I don't happen to have, yeah, I don't have those.
Right.
But to say that survival in today's time is it's very very hard out here in this world. People are not able to pay their bills. To get food is very difficult. Um, you just have to be really strong minded to make it, to survive. You have to keep your mind right. You have to whoever your God is and whatever your spiritualness is, you need to stay in that frequency. You need to find your joy. You need to do your praying and keep your mind good because that's survival also. If you don't have that, you're not going to make it. You have to have that. That's a survival tool. So you don't want to be negative ever. You have to always to find positive, and you're going to always make it. Be positive. And love is the biggest thing in this world. It's just love, unconditional love, no conditions to it. Just love each other. Um, that's what we have to do. I have a saying that I always say: "Don't let your bitterness take your sweetness away." So, so you don't want to be bitter about anything at all. You have to work through that. You always have to remember how brave you are. You have to always believe in yourself and know that you're strong. And actually, smart. You're always smarter than you think you are. You just have to push, push.
Definitely. And never stop trying to evolve spiritually, mentally, and physically. You know.
Yes. And take nature for what it is. Everything around us is alive. Water has memory. The trees, the grass, the flowers, everything that you look at, it actually breathes. It actually is alive. And so we're never alone when we go outside. And I would say always be outside as much as you can because that's healing to our body.
Definitely. I've been talking to trees since I was a kid. And it don't matter what anyone says. I'm like, I promise you, sit and talk to trees and they'll tell you a lot. They've been here a long time.
Yes, it's wonderful. When a person I met, it's a blessing.
It is. So we know that you don't prep as such,
I
but
used to more now.
right.
I
Is
just
the
picked up
is there any
extra.
particular reason why?
Well, because I was, like I said, in deep research, and something bad's going to happen. Something bad's going to happen. I got to get ready. I got to get ready, and I was just worrying myself. So
Right.
I took a deep breath, sat back, and said, "Look, I'm a survivor, and I can do this. And if something happens, I'm going to know what to do." So that's just my point. We can go overboard, you know.
You learnt the skills
Yes.
rather than having to carry the load, basically.
And we can research and learn skills, and go outside and try it out.
And teach your kids.
Yes, I didn't teach my children that, but they're all on board with it. They're doing
Yeah,
they put extra food back, money, whatever. Sometimes
definitely.
I might not put but $2 back, but the next time I might put five. You just want to always make an effort to make sure that you are going to survive. Always make an effort.
That's why I save my seeds. There's something so simple can be used as currency. Just
Absolutely.
just think about it, people. Because I've been working in kitchens since I was 13 years old. And a pepper and a chili used to be chock-a-blocked full of seeds. You barely
Yes,
get any seeds in them anymore.
not right. See, we know that that's not normal.
Yep.
That's the same way it is here. Everything's like that. By the time I realized that our seeds were compromised, it already had happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your overall goal? Like, what's your end game? I know there could be various scenarios based on what the future holds, but your hopes, what are your hopes for the future, not just for yourself, but the planet as a whole?
Um, as a plant, I want everyone to find spirituality. I don't want anybody in this world to be left behind. Um, I would love to see that in this world for everyone to come together as one. You know, um, it doesn't matter what kind of religion you are. Let's just come together as one. Uh, that would be my hope for the world. That would be the only thing that I could come up with. But as for myself, it's nearly the same. I
Hmm.
just want family, all my family to be in love, just love each other. Everybody love each other. Let's get together once a month and have a dinner. Let's laugh and talk and be together. And it's really important, Trinity, for us to be kind to every single person, animal, tree, no matter what. Just kindness, kindness. And
Definitely.
yes, and once you have that love in your heart for everything that's around you, it comes easy, and you will just begin to see. And you can tell when somebody's broken. You can tell when somebody's hurt, even if they're smiling. And I just I just want to pray for them and love them. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, I think a lot of people could gain a lot through the awareness. Like, because that's what it is, isn't it? It's becoming aware of the world around you rather than living in your own bubble, like you said, like your own bubble of perspective. This is why I like hearing other people's perspectives, because even if we've read the same information, you might have seen something that I didn't pick up, vice versa. And I find a lot of the time people have read and watched and researched completely different material to me, yet still being able to come out with the same outcome.
Trinity, my teacher Ringo reminded me that it's actually to get out of the comfort zone. Anytime that we want to love somebody and help them, you have to get out of your comfort zone to love and to help and to do what's right.
Hmm.
If a person just stays in their comfort zone, they're not gonna do anything. They're not gonna see it. They're not gonna hear it. They're not gonna know. You have to get out of that comfort zone, that little bubble. Step out, be brave, be courageous, and do what's needed in the world.
Obligation.
It is an obligation. We're
Hmm.
supposed to do that. That's what we're supposed to do.
Definitely. And a lot of people don't realise, because everyone's like, oh, what's my purpose? But people don't realise purpose doesn't come with self gain. Purpose is literally your obligation to this lifetime. So,
Anybody
what
who
you,
does self gain, it's never going to work out. Never going to work out. That's the one. I love that part about me that I can just snap to it, and I never think about anything but snapping to it and getting it done. If somebody needs something, I'm all for it. I'm gone. there's never a thought in my mind about, oh, well, what will I get out of this? You know, I'm so thankful that I don't have that in my brain. I don't have that. So it just comes natural for me. But for some people, everything that they do is to be seen. And if you'll notice, those kinds of people, it never turns out.
Hmm.
When you go to a place that is to help people, and I've been there, okay, like if you go to a place to eat for the homeless, you can see the people who are there from their hearts, and you can see the people who are there to get noticed.
Hmm.
There's not going to be a blessing for those people
Definitely.
because you don't want to do things for recognition. It's just never going to work. If you're not called to do a certain thing, if you don't have that calling in your heart and you try to push yourself to do it, it's never going to work.
So, with that in mind, in the scenario of, so for example, I admit to people that my reasons for Triniview are because I tried to make friends with people, but once the questions started coming, people were like, whoa, this is a bit intense. You're a bit extreme. But it's just because I'm trying to gain as many perspectives on these topics that I've been researching for 21 years. And people want to talk about it now that I need these different perspectives. Do you know what I mean? So, Only Spirit, I'm not sure if he's been in tonight. I've not been watching the comments. I do apologise. Suggested interviewing people because then I'm not having to scare people away and people are willing to come for the bombardment of questions and hopefully come back once I rewatch the Triniview and go through it all and put down the data, and then I'll be like, oh, I forgot to ask her this question. Oh, I forgot to ask her that question. Do you know what I mean? Because I think that's the autism. Like, the constant bombardment of questions. But I enjoy collecting information, do you know what I mean? That's my joy. That is my hobby. And I was never really popular, so that was the only thing I really had. Still is, really.
The only way that we can get to know each other and to love each other is to know where we come from and who we are.
Hmm.
And so this interview and all your interviews come from your heart, Trinity, and you're doing a great job.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. It's very much appreciated because I am getting into the flow of it now. But
Yeah.
it's been scary to say the least.
Well,
Because I've never been a public speaker so much as have an audience, but I'm very theatrical. And eventually you will completely see that personality come out in me. So
well,
you will,
actually,
go on.
I'm not good at speaking how I feel. It takes a long time for me. So, and I'm pretty nervous about this interview. I hope it turns out good. I hope, and my accent is so much. You know, I'm a Texan, so yeah.
Well, the only accents I really struggle with is Irish. Like the
Right.
really thick Irish accent, like, and I feel really bad when I've got to tell them, like, slow down, please, like, just slow down a bit. But that's why you see me looking off, like I'm not being ignorant. It's just so that I'm concentrating on listening to you rather than reading the comments that are coming up on the screen. Do you know what I mean? But no, you've been brilliant, and there's never any wrong answers in a Triniview because it's all about your perspective and sharing your piece of the puzzle and what you've learned from the information gathered. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's beautiful when people can sit and have a conversation and disagree on a topic and it not turn into an argument because that is so rare.
That's absolutely right. There's a lot of lies and they're arguing and they're talking over each other. And that is so horrible. I see that a lot. Um, my teacher Ringo, he doesn't have that on his live either. We're pretty calm and we're there to love each other. On occasion, it may get like that, but then you can just leave. If it gets like that, you can just leave.
Mm.
But to get to know each other, and that's true love. You have to get to know each other. And I've had a lot of trauma in my life. Mine's not any bigger than anybody else's, but I do have a story. It's difficult, and I can't even go there.
Mm.
And I can't really talk about my life because it just, well, I guess I hadn't dealt with it. If I had dealt with it properly, if I was fully dealing with it, I could talk about it. So
Mm.
I'm still at the point in my life where I'm dealing with it.
Yeah.
So
But
when I
no, go
get past
on.
that, I might be able to. And it's not anything big to anybody else. It's just my story.
A
Everybody has.
traumatic a traumatic experience is a traumatic experience, especially if you're a child. It's different when you're looking back as an adult and thinking, "Oh, why was that so traumatic?" But you got to remember you were a child, like experiencing things for the first time. So if it's traumatic, it's traumatic. So don't ever think that your experience isn't valid. That's definitely a step one to healing any trauma, I guess.
As a child, it was pretty tough. We did not have clothes. I mean, not decent clothes. We didn't have. My dad just did the best he can. He was just a dad.
Mm.
He's working all day, running wild. That's just how it was. We were in the country. We lived on the gin yard, and we played all day. We didn't have meals at the table. We didn't have food. A lot of times we just, out of the garden. That's all. It was very difficult, especially by the time I got 10 and I was a teenager.
Mm.
So I got married whenever I was 16 years old. And he turned out to be a narcissist, and I'm an empath. So I walked on eggshells all my life. It was very, very difficult. What I went through with him was very, very difficult. My children, I never let them see it. Um, and then, what I did was I turned 50 years old and I just said, no, I'm not doing this anymore. So when I made that decision, I'm not doing this anymore, I lost my home, everything in it. I lost everything. My children were mad at me. They're grown by now, but they were mad at me for what I had done. I lost everything, and I was literally living outside. And I just was sitting one time. I was sitting at the library, and it was about to get dark, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I do not know how I've ended up like this. What has happened? Where are the people in my life? Where are all the people that love me? I'm fixing to have to go sleep under a tree." That was the most shocking realization of the whole thing was when you are all the way down, your family and your friends will kick you in the dirt.
I'm
So
so sorry you had to go through that. I
that's what happened. And I'm thinking, well, where's everybody at? What I can't believe that this is happening to me. I was just in shock. I was in shock for a long time, and I was outside for a long time. So, and I learned a lot in that. It was all for a reason, and I realized what the reasons are. Um, but yeah, I mean, I ate at the free places, found my little place to sleep. I survived. But yeah, that happened. And there's a lot more to that story. But yeah, there's a lot to that story. But once you are in total survival mode, your mind and your body will kick into survival. You'll know what to do. So,
well, it sounds like you're a soldier for sure, like
warrior, a
a
warrior.
warrior. Well, yeah, that's definitely a better term. Like, so I grew up poor. Many a times we didn't have electric. I personally, it didn't bother me. It bothered my siblings because of, the bullying of society and you're supposed to be of this type of way. But we're already an outcast in society anyway, so I was like, another reason for being an outcast don't really matter to me. Do you know what I mean? But
Yes.
I, even though I'm not struggling now, I always live in that no waste and don't believe in alt lights on and don't do this and don't do that, like, because, you got to appreciate it. And you only really appreciate it when you've not had it, don't you? Like,
You know, a lot of people your age grew up not being able to be who they are, who they were meant to be.
hmm,
You know, some parents are like, don't do this, don't do that, just constantly on them about everything and not seeing who their true spirit is.
mm-hmm,
For a parent to see their child's true spirit and let them grow, that's a pretty big deal. That can change a person. That can make you grow up to be a completely different person.
definitely. I can definitely testify to that. My mum said to me the other day, like, you mention me in your lives a lot, don't you? And I'm like, because that's my history. That's my origin story. That's what I can relate to. So I'm gonna tell people that you didn't condemn me for being weird and knowing all this stuff. Like, so for example, do you know the old version of Wednesday Addams? Not this new popular version, but the old version that it's not exactly that she was miserable. She just put a downer on everything because she was spurting these horrible global facts at you about all these horrible things that were happening. That was me. Through and
Oh,
through, like, anytime someone said anything, I'd be like, yeah, well, 20,000 people died of starvation today, and it just killed the whole room. Everyone would go silent, like, but because it was playing on my mind and I was upset about it, I felt like I needed to share it.
yes. Well, parents are really not good. They do this thing where they suppress who you are.
Hmm.
Just suppress it.
Yeah.
Just be. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Just be real, real quiet. I want to hear you talking like that. Yeah.
I find like most parents do that. Like, my mom, and I think my mom's undiagnosed autistic, just based on the things that make me autistic compared to what make me ADHD. And so for example, where other parents would be like, stop singing and dancing in middle of town that's packed full of people, it she'd be doing it with us, do you know what I mean? Like, she didn't care that people were watching us sing and dance. We were having fun as a family.
Oh, that's
So,
wonderful.
oh yeah,
So she's a little bit of a free spirit.
definitely. So my mum is uh, a gardener and she talks to her plants and they tell her exactly where they want to be planted in garden and if they're not enjoying it. And I'll share a video with you of my mum's back garden, like waterfall, full of nature. She absolutely loves it, and she's the one that taught me that talk to plants. You don't disrespect plants. We give offerings to trees and nature, and always leave, like if you plant fruits and veg, always leave some for nature, like the slugs and the snails. And so, for example, at the end of courgette season, you have quite a lot of baby snails. So my last courgettes, I leave them for the baby snails, you know. So give back.
Yes, we have to give back
Hmm.
in every way we can. I'm looking at to see if there's any questions, but I don't see any. Oh, okay. Somebody says, "Do you believe in God?" Yes, I do.
So are you of a particular spirituality? Is it the biblical Abrahamic God you believe in?
I believe that God, in the Bible, the Holy Bible, I believe that God created everything. When I was growing up, crystals and astrology and all these things were witchcraft. I do not feel like they are witchcraft. Um, I feel like that God made everything for tools for us to survive with. And the devil wants to try and take everything that God creates because he cannot create. So I believe in the Bible and I believe in God.
So Abrahamic religion.
Actually, I've been in a new spirituality with myself. And so what I've been doing is learning to breathe correctly.
Hmm.
I'm doing that. It's on YouTube, and so I'll turn that on. So as I'm doing that, I'm praying and I'm talking to God.
Hmm.
Uh, my own, phrases to say during that time. I don't have to have it written for me or in a book. I'll do that myself
Hmm.
because God is number one. I can talk to Him and I can pray to Him. There's two different ways to get to for that. Okay, I have the Holy Spirit in me. I see people that meditate and they get their third eye open and they get the oil that comes up, to the third eye. And if I get that, I get it. If God wants to give me that, I'm going to get it. I don't have that, but if God gives me that, I will take it.
What do you mean by the oil that comes from the third eye?
So there is an oil that goes up your spine, the golden oil.
Mm.
When you get that, it's a very strong. The only way I can explain it is the Holy Spirit. It's like the same to me, but those who have it say it's not the same. But you feel a great amount of love, empathy, compassion, everything good is what the oil is, and it goes to your third eye. And then when your third eye is open, then you can communicate and see things. That
Right, right. I get what you mean. I thought you meant like an oil supposed to come out of your head. I was
well,
like, I've never heard that before, so I know what you mean now.
golden oil, and it's called different things. It's the golden
Hmm.
oil. But whenever I'm having my meditation, and that's new for me, and
Right,
I'm
yeah.
learning to see, I don't have to have I don't have to read things that somebody else has wrote. I do that myself
Hmm.
because I'm meditating, and when I'm learning to breathe right now. I'm having prayer and I'm talking to God. And I also believe very strongly in my oil. I have some anointed oil, and I apply the oil to myself when I pray, and I pray for all my family and for people around me. So when I'm praying, this is what I tell God. I pray for all those who have my blood. That's going to cover a lot of people, so that way I don't have to name 100 people.
Hmm.
God knows my heart. And when we are done on this earth living, God will judge me by the purity of my heart. So that
Definitely. So, when you pray, do you pray out loud or do you just pray within?
I talk out loud. A lot of my prayers I talk out loud, but most of the time it's inward. Yeah.
And throughout the day, so your difference between your praying and your conversation, do you do your conversation just when you're doing your normal routine, when you're at work and you have, is that when you're having your conversations, or do you set time aside and sit down and have the conversation?
Okay. In the mornings, I have a deep prayer with God, and I cover everything so that He may help me make it through my day because I want to do everything that pleases Him.
Hmm.
And then as the day goes on, I might say, God, I'm not doing this right. Help me do this. Give me the strength to finish this work. I talk to Him all day long, like He's right beside me, but I
Hmm.
have time with Him in deep prayer. And God does answer me. I have a knowing inside me, and it's the Holy Spirit that leads me and guides me into all my truth. The Holy Spirit leads me and guides me to all my truth.
Hmm.
So when I'm listening to a teacher teaching about the Bible or whatever they're teaching, God is going to give me the understanding that I need for now.
Hmm.
A few months later, I might get another part of it, but He's going to give me what I need for today. He's going to give me my knowledge and my understanding for today.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, it's slightly different. So, for example, I don't like to use the word God because I'm very cautious about human words and the way that language has been manipulated so that we're casting particular spells.
There is other, yes, that is so big. I'm glad you mentioned that because I've been told by a lot of people that's not His name. Well, here's how I'm looking at it just for myself. God knows my heart, and I've been
Hmm.
taught His name was God, and when I read it, it says God. So if I'm doing something wrong, He knows my heart.
Hmm.
He knows my heart. So that's why I continue to say God because it's just familiar to me. He's my Father.
Yeah. So I just say source. Do you get what I mean? Like, just connecting to source. So, th- I guess it's because, so for example, my mum's Christian, but she comes from line of Wiccas, and then my dad's Muslim, but if you go a few generations back, they were Hindu. So I had a broad head start in the whole spirituality thing. And even though my mum was Christian and raised, the household Christian, she believed that true faith comes from learning the knowledge and choosing for yourself. Do you know what I mean? So she never forced us to be Christian. Now, don't get me wrong, she were upset when she realised I wasn't a Christian, but it's not like I hear some of these stories of people being kicked out of their families. And I'm like, I just couldn't imagine it. Like, my mum weren't perfect, but she were an absolute blessing compared to what I hear some people have had to go through. So I was very interested in different spiritualities and religions from a very young age. That's why when people say, "What's your religion?" I'm like, I'm a philosopher and a theorist because I don't follow a particular religion. I see information in all these different teachings that come from a source, but because corrupt man has taken it and managed to twist certain information, it worries me a bit. Do you know what I mean? So I try my best not to say certain words and not to participate in particular practices. So, for example, I don't celebrate Christmas, and we don't have Thanksgiving over here. But I think if I were in America, I wouldn't celebrate Thanksgiving neither. I don't celebrate Easter. I don't even celebrate New Year's Eve. People call me boring.
Well, I understand exactly why you don't. That has only came to me recently in the past few how we're doing so many pagan things. But like I said, God knows my heart. My God knows my heart, and He's going to judge me by my heart. So I'm trying to live right like everybody else, but we all have different thoughts on the Creator.
Mm-hmm.
Some people pray to the universe, and I'm not saying that anybody is doing anything wrong. Uh, everybody's just being who they are, and like I said, when we're judged, it'll be from our heart. That's how I feel.
Mm-hmm. And the things you've done for others, not just other humans, but the animals, the plants. So, do you know how in the Bible that when humans didn't have to eat physical food, they were given manna from God? Now, I work in energy, and now I only work in energy because I feel energy as like a static electric feeling on my skin. And people who are around me, if you sat near me, when I get excited like this and I'm talking and I'm telling you the information I've gathered, you will start, do you know, like as if I've rubbed a rubber balloon on you and all your hairs stand up on end. That's what happens to the people next to me. Like that, and I zap them and everything. Just, because I'm getting in that high energy.
But a
So,
healer,
pardon?
healer.
A healer. Is
I
that what
feel
you
like
said, Sarah?
you're a healer. If you're free that high, you could literally like touch somebody's knee. You're a healer. That's what I'm seeing by you saying that. Your frequencies are very high.
Oh. I never looked at it that way because I always saw my mum as the healer. I am
Well,
pretty good with healing people, like emotionally. I've never tried really healing someone physically, but I never looked at it that way.
high energy people they make good healers. You can somebody and they would feel comfort and a relief from the pain. Then while you're doing that, um,
Is that why my energy affects other people? So people say, oh, I were in a right bad mood, but 10 minutes of round you have cheered me up. And I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
because I'm not letting your energy interject in mine.
I'm a very high energy person, which just blows a lot of people's mind. Like I said, I used to work 12 hours and do all that work by myself. And then when I left, they hired two more people. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Oh, but yeah, I was saying about the manner. What if, so have you ever heard about like type 1, type 2, type 3 civilizations? The scientific things. Well, a type 1 civilization can harness the energy of the planet without, like destroying it. What if the earth gives you that energy when you give energy to the earth? Do you get what I mean? Like, and a step in the evolution. If humans could go back to having the ability to be giving more to the earth than what they're taking from it, we would get that same energy from the earth that everyone talks about, like the ether and how you can harness the energy and the same stuff that Nikola Tesla were trying to tell us about before he passed away of cancer all of a sudden.
well, I feel like that the closer that you are spiritually, you don't have to eat as much food.
Mm.
You get to where you don't have to have as much food, especially if it's vegetables and fruit and clean water. You just don't have to have that much. The closer that you get to spirituality, the more spiritual that you become, the less food that you require, the less sleep you require. So um, I've heard it said that food is a curse to us, that we have to have all this food and all this meat. But there's going to come a time when we don't have to have that. That's how I feel.
I love it when I get confirmation. So my problem is now it's not that I don't trust the information I get. The problem is I'm not sure what information has come from source. Do you know, like before I came to my awareness, what information came from the source and what information come from societal pre-programming. Do you get what I
Okay.
mean? So
I,
Spirit told me the final answers lie in the perspective of others. So I say stuff to other people and out loud, and something confirms it. It might be a show, it might be a, a meme, it just something random. Something will confirm something I spoke to someone else. Do you know what I mean?
so when you feel something in your spirit that you may be given confirmation and you'll know it's real, or you may something may come to your mind to do or say. If it comes to your mind for you to say or do something, and you're going to do it right away because you know that it's right, you just know. But if you start questioning it, then it's not right. If you have to question it, it's coming from the dark side, or it's coming from your program. But when you get right up and start doing whatever that was in your mind or saying whatever, then you know it's right. You feel that you know it's right. But if you question it, it's not right.
Well, that's a problem for me because until I've tried and experimented, I quite literally question everything.
Yes.
So, for example, the one and only reason I believe in Source is because I've had the ability to connect to Source, and the Bible would call it wrestling with God, like pondering. So, like, constantly having a conversation with Source in my head, like, oh, but what if it's this? And then I'll get, like, it might not even be straight away, like you said, this is a problem. You might not get the information straight away, but then I might be sat there maybe 2 weeks later. Sometimes it can be years later, and something will just come to me. And then I'll say to my husband, I'll be like, oh my God, what if blah, 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 blah? Do you know what I mean? So, like, it's been a fun experience. I sort of lost
All,
track of myself.
all day long, I talk to God, my source, my source, all day long. And does He answer me? On great occasion. It's great occasion. As far as dreams go, I have like one or two a year that I can remember. But when I have one, it's a big deal. It's like a movie. And I know that that's a message to me. So we all have a different journey in our understanding and knowing. Everybody's different. And the older you get, the closer you're going to get to seeing your answers when you get those thoughts, Trinity. You will begin to see the answers a lot faster.
I've noticed it's happening a lot faster. So, for example, my husband witnesses it happening. So I'll say something and then it'll come on TV or on TikTok or something like that, and I'll be like, told you. Within an hour of me telling you a particular theory, because that's what I do, I theorise particular things. Because obviously I know information is corrupt. And I think this is why I question it so much, because I noticed it from such a young age. Do you know what I mean? So school couldn't tell me stuff like Christopher Columbus discovered America. Like that made me mad in class. Do you know what I mean? I'd have been kicked out if it were mandatory. But I this is why I was saying I can't just believe something without testing the theory. That's why I know energy is really important to plants. So, have you ever seen the experiments about how you can take two plants and you can give abuse to one plant and give love to another plant, and they'll grow in two different ways?
Seen that. It's very interesting, and I believe it.
Well,
Yeah,
I did the experiment.
yes, yes.
Yeah. And have you heard about how water retains memory? And if you freeze droplets of particular water, it creates particular crystal patterns?
Yes, water has memory. And we talked a little bit about that earlier. That's not something that I realized until recently.
Yeah, well, I did an experiment with that. So I did the basic experiment where, you're writing certain words on jars of water. But then what I did was I made up two completely random words and I took six subjects and I told three of them this word means love and this word means hate. But then I told the other three the opposite way round. And then I give them a jar of water. And it wasn't the actual word, but the person's intent based on what they thought that word meant. Do you get what I mean? So that's why when you say God knows what I mean, God knows my heart, because it's your energy. Do you know what I mean? So I get what you say. It doesn't matter the words you use, but that's how far I took the experiment.
Frequency in our life now, I'm learning about frequency. Um, I'm just really hooked into this frequency thing. I've been studying it and trying to learn all I can about it because for a long time, the elites, they've been using that to heal their bodies. I didn't know anything about that. Red light therapy and frequency is becoming, people are learning about it. Frequency is a real big thing in our life. That's what everything is made out of. It's all frequency. So it's very exciting to me to learn about the frequency and how it works.
The weird thing is, so does the American school system not teach stuff like the double slit experiment and like how matter is energy waves and stuff like that?
Very little. When I went to
Right.
school, I didn't have that at all, and now it's very little. It, yeah. So no, I didn't have that.
Right. So they didn't go into detail with us. They taught us a bit about the double slit experiment. Although I'm thinking now that my science teacher might have been a conspiracy theorist, because he actually taught us about Planet X. I don't know if you know anything about Planet X, but he actually taught us about Planet X, and I'm realising now maybe that weren't part of school criteria.
Hmm.
But yeah,
That's interesting.
the educational system isn't very good, to say the least. And I
Yeah,
know in the UK, so what we would class as an A student over here is actually only a C student in the US.
I see.
So when Brits think we're so smart, technically we're not.
As soon as I think I know something, I know nothing at all. Right?
Definitely.
Love, peace, and respect has a question for you. Have
Oh,
you
sorry.
experiment with the plants and microwaved water?
I haven't. I don't own a microwave. Like I said, I'm energy sensitive.
Not the way.
So certain things I can't own.
No,
I can't have a microwave. It's horrible. It doesn't even need to be on. Like
I'm trying to
I've
get
got
away.
go on.
I'm trying to clean my body up and get away from all these things that I've done, like microwave number one. We don't need
Mm-hmm.
that. No, we don't need it.
Definitely. Microwave food doesn't even taste nice. You can tell it's been pumped full of radiation. So
Yes,
I go on.
metals. I
Mm.
think metals into our body.
Mm.
But I take no medications. I made the decision 2 years ago to never go to the doctor again. I had emergency surgery and I went through a lot. I went through a lot. I nearly died, that kind of thing. I mean, it was huge. I was sick for a long time.
Mm.
And that's what made me retire real quick. Um, so I decided not to ever go to the doctor again and not to take any pharmaceutical drugs, and I mean it, and I don't. So I've learned natural medicine, and I'm still learning every day. And I take my own medicine for me, natural,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm very healthy and have a lot of energy. So, and I'm 66 years old, and I have a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm. See, I'd love to do that. I got bit by my cat a couple of months back, and I thought, yeah, I can heal this myself. I nearly lost my life. I
Yeah,
um I needed some very strong antibiotics. I ended up with sepsis.
the times we're living in, we have all of these infections that we've never had before, like
Mm.
strep, and it gets into your blood system. You have all these sores on your skin, and that's why we were talking about the shungite.
Mm-hmm.
You know, need all of this information to survive today, because so many things are going into our bodies, and people are getting a lot of skin infections.
Mm-hmm.
Margellans, strep comes in all kinds of forms and destroys a person, the body. So
Yeah.
we have to learn what we can do natural. We've been given all the tools right here on the earth to take care of ourselves. And so we have to be very, put on our armor and be a soldier and learn and to find all those things to heal our bodies and to keep our minds aware,
Mm-hmm.
keeping our mind good.
Can I ask, in the area you live, do you know when someone is prescribed antibiotics for an infection, are they also given probiotics?
No,
No.
when you go to the doctor here, I'm in Texas. When you make a doctor's appointment, they will walk in and barely speak to you and walk out, and it's $145. And they're not going to give you medicine to get you well. They're going to give you medicine to make you feel better, and then in 2 months you have to go back. And that's what happens. And if you start telling your doctor, I take this, and this is natural medicine, then they're going to kick you out of the system and they don't want you anymore. So it takes 3 months to get a doctor here. It takes 3 months to find another doctor that will accept you. So you
That's crazy.
cannot tell them that you're taking anything natural because they're not going to like it. They're going to kick you out. So, and no, they're not going to give you probiotics. No.
Well, just so you know, for reference, when you do take your antibiotic foods for infections, you need probiotic foods too. Otherwise, the antibiotics start damaging your insides. So, probiotics, antibiotics.
That's knowledge. That's the knowledge that you and I have because we know what to do.
Hmm.
The doctors here are not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you to get that. So,
Yeah,
so
I'm always hesitant about going to doctors. They always seem to take a lot of blood from me and make it impossible to find out what blood type I am, even though I've had surgeries that would require to know my blood type if I hemorrhaged. Do you know what I mean?
Most people don't know their blood type. I don't know mine. I forgot. I mean, I do know what it was, but I don't remember. But it's very important for us to know.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Has anyone in the comments got any more questions?
I'm seeing the people that we love on here. Greetings and all kinds of hearts. Everybody's just so nice. I love my friends on TikTok.
Oh,
And
everyone's so nice, aren't they? I won't say everyone's so nice, but I've
yeah,
been able to have conversations with people on TikTok that most of the time I'm not able to have in the real world. So it's been absolutely brilliant. And thank you
yeah,
for whoever just hearted me.
the like-minded people have really changed my life.
Definitely. I mean, it was funny earlier when you were saying so many parents force the kids to be something they're not. And when I was trying to make friends, for the first time in my life, I was trying to put a mask on and not be so intense, because I'm intense, to not scare people away. Because usually within 3 weeks, I get ditched. They're like, I can't cope with you. You're too many questions. But I was never forced to be anything other than myself. Even when, you know, people would say, so I'm very masculine. I'm not as masculine anymore because I'm with someone that protects me, so I've been able to step into my feminine energy. But people would bully me for being masculine and liking boy stuff and call me, you know, tell me I'm a man, and that they literally call me Leanne the man. And my mum would be like, oh, don't worry. You know, girls can like football and cars, and you don't have to like the colour pink just 'cause you're a girl. And with my weirdness, and I would have got into trouble a lot at school with a normal mum, but my mum defended me because she knew I weren't a naughty kid. I
The
was
free,
just a smart kid that couldn't keep my mouth shut about how much information I knew.
your mom's a free spirit, and that's good. I'm glad that you. But we can be ourselves on TikTok, and it doesn't matter because I'm not going to see anybody when I go anywhere. You know, we can be ourselves. You are a beautiful, very intelligent woman, and you just be yourself. That's what's important,
Thank you.
to be who we are.
It made me feel sick trying to hold myself in. Because, like I said, I'm very theatrical. So it's quite hard for me to sit here and not be doing. I find people to be very offended by everything on the internet. And in my real life, I'd be doing loads of different accents and referencing movies by trying to do the voices of movies, even if I'm not good at it. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I'm trying not to offend people because I don't want to upset people. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just eccentric. I'm fabulous. I
You are
am fabulous.
you're fabulous. You are a wonderful person. Just keep being you. That's what I say. And if
Oh,
they don't like,
thank you.
move on. So,
No, I'm not a Capricorn. You're a Capricorn though, aren't you? Oh no, you said you were a Cancer.
are you? What are you?
I'm an Aries. I'm like people like to call us the head. We're like the head of the zodiac, but I never wanted to be the head of anything, if I'm honest. Just blend into the walls. That would be easy to do if I could shut my mouth, but turns out I've never been good at
Yeah,
that.
I think you're brass. When you walk in the room, bam.
See, I always wore clothes that made me blend in, Like, because I don't like attention. Because most of my life it's been negative attention. The problem is I literally don't have the ability to shut my mouth. People say I have verbal diarrhea. I've had to
I'm not.
train myself to interview people and sit and shut up without interjecting when people are talking to say, do you know, like, give you an example of how I can relate to what you're saying.
When I walk in a room, the first thing I do, I'm real quiet, and I start picking up on everybody's uh, frequency. I can already tell are what they are. I'm just already picking it up, and I'm real quiet. And then when I leave out of the room, I'm like, okay, I know what that person's going to do. I already know. I can pick up on everybody's personality in a split second. That's a gift. I've had that all my life. And if there's a devil in the room, I'm going to know it. So, yeah, I pick up on everybody very quickly.
Obsessed with the idea of death.
Obsessed with that. That's what Ringo wrote that. I don't know.
I
I can't.
am.
You are goal oriented, he said.
I'm definitely goal orientated. I would say I am obsessed because right now in this world it's the only thing that's guaranteed for pretty much everything. And it's not so much the end. So, do you know how most little girls grew up wanting to be a Disney princess? Not me. I wanted to be Mother Olga from the Dark Crystal that talked to the planet and the animals, and she even had a third eye. I didn't realise that until being an adult, and I'm like, oh my God. It were all there. It were all there in my favourite movie. All the information. All there. So she has the famous quote saying, end, begin, same thing, big change. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Now, when I do that in future, I'll do it with the accent, but I'm still not that comfortable in the interviews yet.
Right. The interviews made me kind of nervous today, and I don't know why. Just the way it is.
Well, everyone that's had an interview has said I'm very laid back and chilled, and it doesn't feel like an interview. And it's not really. It's just called Triniview, but it's just a way for me to be able to question people one on one without a group discussion, because then I'm not being able to get my questions in and ask my questions in a group discussion. So again, I admit when I'm being selfish and I'm doing it for selfish reasons, but at least I get some good conversations.
You're not doing it for selfish reasons. You're getting to know people and who they are.
Oh, yeah, because I think learning to listen to other people's perspectives is very important. Because how can we get along if we're not willing to listen to the other side of things?
When a person can listen well, to me, that's love. When you're talking to somebody and they're not listening to you, that's rejection.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've talked to many people in my life, and I'm just going on and on, just talking, and I think we're having a great conversation, and I can stop right in the middle of it, and they never know. Well, that's rejection.
That's been my whole life, if I'm honest. So people used to tell me, when I first come on TikTok, people used to say, stop talking at me and start talking to me. And I had to explain it's because I'm talking to myself in hopes that someone might listen. Because that's all I've been able to do my whole life, because people just don't listen to me. Like, so I'd learnt to talk to myself. I need to tell people my theories, or at least speak them out loud to sort of process them in my brain, if you get what I'm saying. Like vocalising an idea to be able to see the vision.
Ringo says, I am a Pisces, but with the same interest of learning the individual.
I think that people of all houses, of all creeds, of all religions, are becoming aware that we're all looking up at the same mountain. We're just on different sides of it, so we've convinced ourselves it's a different mountain. But when you get to the peak of it, it's still the same mountain.
We're
So
all going to
stop
end,
warring.
in the end, we're going to all end up in the same place. I hope. That good place.
Well, I say to people all the time when they're always talking about. So a lot of people tell me I'm going to hell. On a regular basis, I'm told I'm going to hell because people call me a fence sitter. And it's not that I don't believe in the oneness, I just know the corruption of man. Do you get what I mean? So if I'm getting the information from the source, that's different. But anything I read in a book or hear off another person, I'm going to put into question. So it's like I always remind, for example, if a Christian or a Muslim tells me I'm going to hell, that your book itself says as above, so below, right? So if we've not created heaven on earth, what makes you think heaven's ready yet?
Right.
Because as
We,
above, so below. Because we can all agree that earth is hell, right? Sometimes we can see the beauty in it, but it's not a very nice place for most people to live. I think 25% of people live below the poverty line and don't have enough.
everybody's
Go
all
on.
trying. Everybody's trying to survive, and right now it's pretty tough.
It's definitely tough. My husband said to me the other day, "Oh, we really did well through that rough patch," and I'm like, "It weren't that bad,"
Right.
because in my mind, with the way the world's going, and it's almost like some of the theories I theorized 20 years ago are now unfolding in front of my eyes. And then I've got to put into question, well, them theories lead to this, so the future could get really bad before it even gets better. So in my
That's a,
mind, that wasn't a rough time that I just went through.
we may look back at this today and think, oh, it wasn't bad. It was great. But something big is going to happen. It's not going to be long, I think. I think something big needs to happen to put us back to a certain. When rent is over $1,000 a month, that's not right.
So how much is pay?
A thousand over $1,000 a month for a little trailer house is what my daughter pays. The water bill is over 100. The electric is $300 and $400. Look, people can't do that. My aunt live on retirement check, and our bills, and we try not to use anything, and it's just us here, and it's still very expensive. If our house wasn't paid for, well, then we would be in trouble.
I feel really bad for love, peace, and respect because it's just said, or she's just said, 2,000 just for rent. I
Look,
pay $390 a month for a 2 bedroom.
something has to happen to cause us to go back to a normal state because this rent is ridiculous. People can't do that. There's young people with little children that are working three part-time jobs, and their husband works all day till dark just to keep the bills paid. So, something's got to happen. This is ridiculous.
And 50 years ago, one income would have covered it all.
Yeah, it's something's got to happen. I don't even, and I can't really talk about it because I don't know. Something's got to happen.
Yeah, see, the problem is, have you ever seen the movie Tomorrowland?
I don't watch too much TV.
So I don't watch it like normal people. So I've been analysing movies and breaking it down and giving my deep analysis of it since I was a kid. Yes, I know, weird kid, can't help it. But in the movie Tomorrowland, basically a girl goes into the future with this pin, and in this future the world's going to end. But when she's looking up on this future and within herself she says, no, that can't happen, it like glitches and you can see a future where it's not ended. Now, that's a real life thing. So certain things have been forced and rammed down us throats. So we have the energy of creating that reality. But if it were rammed down us throats, then we wouldn't be creating that reality that we're currently going into. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yes, I do.
Oh, Whitster said he tried to comment that. Yeah, definitely. So that's why I like to watch movies. Like I said, Dark Crystal, I can't believe how much of what I know was in that movie. And when you watch the movie, there's very little information towards the storyline. So, for example, the crystal, which is connected to the planet, is called the Crystal of Truth. And the Crystal of Truth has been shattered. And the Gelfling need to fix the Crystal of Truth to stop this fractured energy from mass harvesting the energy of the Gelfling and the planet. And that's pretty much where my theory of mass harvest of energy comes from, is the Dark Crystal movie. So
Watch that movie.
it's a brilliant movie, and there's a series on Netflix now, and it's just funny because the seven Gelfling clan have to unite to find the crystal shard and stop the Skeksis. And I'm like, oh my god, the cult classics had it all in. They're telling you, they're telling you.
What is the movie called?
The Dark Crystal. It's Tim Henson.
Look it up. I'm gonna look it up.
It's brilliant. I mean, I'm a little obsessed with it, so I've got like all the books and the like comic books, and I've watched the movies several times. I watch the series at least once every couple of months because as I'm learning different information and then going back and watching it, I'm like, oh my god, it's right there. Do you know the symbolisms and stuff like that?
There's a lot of truth to some movies. That they put some truth into the movies.
Definitely. Yeah. I love looking at information. It's probably my biggest hobby.
I'm always led to on a journey of learning. It's like every 2 or 3 months, it's something else, and I love that. And boy, I get into it, and I mean for days and weeks, I'll just be all into it.
There
Trinity,
you
I'm gonna.
go. I was just going to say, there you go. Tip of the week, people. Never go into a conversation without expecting to learn something.
Uh, I'm gonna wrap it up because I have to go now.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I've got no more questions anyway until I watch the interview again and remember, oh, I wanted to ask this.
I want you to know how much I love you.
Oh, I love you too. Thank you so much for honouring me with the interview.
Had a lot of fun. You're in my
I'm glad
heart.
you've enjoyed.
You and everything is good. I love you.
Thank you
Bye.
so much.
Bye for now.
Bye for now. See you later. Well, everyone, there we go. A bit of survival and self-sufficiency. Even I learned a thing or two. Thank you all for being nice in the comments, even though most of the time I'm not looking at them. I'm trying not to ignore the people that I'm interviewing by sitting and reading through comments. So it was nice of her to let me know what were going on in comments. So that was another Triniview. I'm back on Saturday and I'm interviewing empathetic, blunt, something or other. I can't remember off the top of my head because I just call him Blunt. So, yeah. Like only Spirit. Most of the time I just call him Spirit. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Blunt. Yeah. Blunt, you know. Which state, that's easy to remember, do you know what I mean? But when it's several words, my brain has to make room for other information. So thank you everyone that's joined us. Thank you everyone that's liked. I've got another team member, so thank you very much. I think I got a couple of heart mays, so thank you. Remember, always shine bright. Never dim your light. You know, because we're all fabulous. Oh, thank you. Another heart. Thank you. 19 members. Or 20 members. Brilliant. Thank you. I hope the rest of your week is full of love, peace and joy. Do you know how you want to practice saying that to people all the time? Have a week or month or, you know, I hope you had a week full of love, peace and joy. Because it gives me love, peace and joy, if I'm honest. Like, the feeling I get from just saying it so many times a day. Thank you all again for joining us. I hope to see you all on Saturday. I can't remember what the topic is off the top of my head. But Open Doors starts on Monday. So that's going to be where we can have group discussions and discuss the different topics, you know, a more in-depth, wide variety. So thank you all so much. I love you all so much. Thank you for joining. Triniview. You're all going to be sick of me soon because my personality is going to start coming out and I'm going to be singing all the time. Someone told me I sounded like I smoke 80 Benson and Hedges a day today. I'm like, phew. My voice is only going to get deeper as I get older. It's the female family curse. We call it rustic. Oh, thank you. It's nice to finally meet people on the same energy level, you know. Get to share the information. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, rustic. You know, that deep rustic tone. I bet I could do the bass of a song these days. Because when I was younger, I could reach, you know, diva dance from The Fifth Element, do you know, where the blue aliens singing. I used to be able to hit every single note of that song. All them high screeches. And now I can't even do Snow White. So, yeah. Doomed to get deeper and deeper as I get older. It's just how it goes for the women in our family, but it doesn't matter. Because I still got a British accent, Anna. Well, I'm going to go because I've got work in the morning. Thank you all very much. I love you all. And I'll see you on Saturday.